Hello and welcome to Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. It's a new game, came out at the time of the recording, I think yesterday, that might have been today, I'm not actually sure. And we're going to be playing through it. From what I've read so far in the reviews, the playtime is supposedly like only 2-3 hours. Maybe if we read all of the text, we can extend that to 3.5 hours or something. And it's got some replayability though, as far as I know, so if you enjoy this playthrough, and if I enjoy this playthrough, of course, we might do a couple different attempts, but for now, let's start. Please wait. Prologue, Premonition. Tutorial. This is a game about rage and how it helps us do things that need to be done as well as things that we later regret. Sometimes both. How do you feel about that? Great, I'm always angry. I'm okay with anger when it's useful. Well, I prefer to think before I act. Your rage is low. So you're the observant and cunning type. That's okay. There's no right path here, just your decisions and their consequences. Consequences, schmonsequences, I'm smarter than that. Let's just follow the path and see where it takes us. The forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker, come closer, run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. I observe. I watch as they dance around the tree trunks, float up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. There are words in their dance, but I don't understand them. Not yet. Then they bunch up and fly toward me like an arrow. Rushing down, they're soon upon me, but just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear and the dark of the night returns. In the darkness, the spirits keeping the forest alive whisper about the enemy. I begin to move, unnoticed, one with the night. And then I wake up. Cold and alone. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay, to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. Why am I here? My head is spinning. Why am I here? There must be a reason. The tree trunks wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy are covered in ripples of lichen, where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettles. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. I try to breathe. I take a deep breath and suddenly realize that it's not the forest that smells so foul. It's me. I look down and see my hands covered in a dark substance. I'm naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. I can feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. I'm alert. Nature is never quiet. The leaves rustle in the wind. Small creatures scuttle in the undergrowth. There is a whisper. I don't understand what it means, but the word resonates in my head. Garo. Who said that? There's a severed head right in front of me. Some choices are hard to make and they strain your willpower. I wince and touch it. Why would I touch it? Sure. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open, the tongue stuck out. It's obscene. I feel bile rising in my throat and I start to retch, and then eyes open in darkness. Who is it? I can see their silhouettes, shades of jet black against the darkness. They smell of fur and moss and bloodied earth. Massive creatures, some with horns, some with antlers. Their eyes burn like small fiery windows into hell. I look at them and something wakes inside me. Well, I'm going to assume I can't choose that. Oh, I can. Okay. They tell me stories of their lost battles and dying hopes, and I say no. I tell them my stories of the enemy and how they are so stupid, so clueless that we almost feel pity as we kill them. They listen and laugh. I laugh with them. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me. And then I wake up. Chapter 1. Arrival. Dreams. Maya? Maya! Maya, wake up! I opened my eyes. My neck was stiff. I stretched lazily as I assessed where I was out of the corner of my eye. I wasn't in a forest anymore, I was in a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder, disturbed. Okay, probably not the right voice then. I don't know what exactly this means. Variant indicates that this choice is available because of your current stats. It's available because I have no rage. Ah, so that wouldn't be available if I had rage. I see. It's alright. I squeezed her hand to comfort her. She looked at me concerned. You are laughing like maniacally. I blinked. The memory of the dream was still there and the taste of blood in my mouth. I looked outside. Trees were pushing up against the narrow road, their boughs tangled, their trunks carpeted with moss. It was the forest from my dreams. We're almost there, said the girl next to me. Her name was Anya. We'd met a couple of weeks earlier on the orientation day. She was from Norway, a tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair in braids. Somehow I'd managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. Anya is friendly. Okay. Sure. Anya reached into her backpack and took out 2 apples. I'm really happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering her some of my kawanosi. Dried meaty sausages that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problems keeping friends around and really needed one. Oh, I did some searching, she said from over her phone. And this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. This trip was my idea. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I'd managed to talk Anya into skipping the tours of concentration camps and old churches and visiting Białowieża National Park with me instead. I should have really, because I read this word in the description of the game, and I was like, this is going to be interesting to pronounce. I really should have looked it up before starting to play, but whatever. We're just running with it. So far it's beautiful, she said, her eyes smiling. But why are we here again? Good question. Why were we there? There being Białowieża, a small village in northeast Poland near the border with Belarus. It was famous for its national park, the very last European bison, and, according to a quick web search, occasional tensions between far-right troublemakers and the local Belarusian community. The most honest answer would have been because I've been dreaming about the forest in Białowieża since I can remember. But people didn't understand when I said things like that. I looked her in the eyes. Sure. We'll tell her as much as we can. We'll save our willpower for now. It's complicated. I wanted to see the forest. I heard it was a must. That wasn't technically a lie. When I was little, my grandfather told me stories about an ancient forest full of wonders and the wolves that lived in it. It was all I got from that part of the family before my mum took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad. But I remembered the stories well, and I remembered the name of the forest. Pusha Białowieża. This will always be our home, my grandfather used to say. Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years old. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore. And that was precisely why I needed to do something, anything about my future. That damn forest and my weird-ass family. I wasn't there by mistake. I'd planned this trip for months with a clear goal in mind. Learn the truth about my roots, sure. My grandfather's stories, the secrets, my mother running away. There was a mystery in my past. It was time I uncovered the truth about who I was. There was a mystery to uncover and an adventure to be had. I couldn't wait. Welcome home. Białowieża looked like an overexposed photo of a village with the contrast turned all the way up. It was a hot, sleepy day on a hot, sleepy street, and everything, the old trees, the yellowed grass, the weathered wooden houses, the fences, seemed almost normal. Everything except the shadows. They were sharp, as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of inks. For a second I could have sworn they'd moved, but then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its tracks. Go on, pet the cat. Here, kitty kitty, I said, squatting and reaching toward the cat. It rammed me affectionately with its head and started rubbing against my legs, totally ignoring the outstretched hand. Hey Maya, Anya said, looking at me surprised. Didn't you say your friend would be waiting for us? But he wasn't there, and the cat was still staring at me. Let's go. Anya put on her backpack. I'm tired and I really need to find a toilet. For a moment I was tempted to just get out of the sun and worry about my missing friend later. But the meeting was just too... What meeting? I decided I didn't need him. The friend? The cat? I want to stay with the cat. I don't need him. I grabbed my backpack and started walking. I'll manage on my own. Thanks for nothing, I muttered under my breath. Anya sighed with relief and followed me. Bed and breakfast. Białowieża had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfasts. That's where we stayed. I found one that was nice, clean, and that had good reviews. We had a room on the second floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We dropped off our stuff and freshened up a bit. Maybe we should have waited for your friend? Anya asked, concerned. I shrugged. I'll find him sooner or later. Before you go, check out your character sheet. Look for it in the upper right corner of the screen. You can find a load of useful info about Maya, her background, personality, goals, and so on there. You can also check who your friends and who your enemies are. Okay. Maya Borodich, age 24, profession student, nationality American. Inspiring, analytical, very spiritual apparently, and cunning a bit. Condition healthy, goal, learn your family history, pursue to regain willpower. Relations, Anya, friendly, family, it's complicated. Alright. June 20th apparently. Białowieża was a quaint tourist town. Oh, it actually says there. Białowieża. That actually sounds like I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is a village in Poland's Podlaskie province, in the middle of the Białowieża forest for which it is named. But I had other things in mind. The lay of the land. I had a clear goal in mind. My family was entangled with this town and the forest. I had to uncover my roots. Anya went with you. There's the rivers. Actually, no. What am I talking about? That's a river. That's a street. So it looks like, it looks like a fairly small town. The forest is over there. Sure, let's visit the town first. Serendipity. As we walked through town, Anya nudged me and pointed at a tall, broad-shouldered, freckled guy standing at the bus stop with a lost expression on his face. I remembered his face from the pictures on social media. It was the friend who'd stood me up earlier. Sure? I don't know how glad I am, but fair enough. Bartek? I waved to him and smiled. Sorry I missed you earlier. Maya, what are you doing here? He blurted with surprise when he saw me. I was sure you were coming on the later bus. We started walking and talking. His accent was broad and East European. Okay, thank you for telling me what sort of accent I'm supposed to do. Anya liked him, sure. Anya took an immediate liking to him. I could tell. I always could smell romance in the air. We walked along the only street in the village nearing the center, if you could call it that. Every house had a garden and the air was dense with the fragrance of flowers. I took a deep breath. So, did you manage to trace the name I gave you? I asked. Bartek shook his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry. He was avoiding my eyes. A trickle of sweat ran down his temple. He looked afraid. What's up, man? I smiled. Spill the beans. I'm a big girl. I can take it. But he just clammed up. You know what? I think you should drop it. I stopped. You're scared of something. I turned to Bartek and touched his arm. What's eating at you, man? He shrugged and shook his head. You can tell us, Anya added gently. I taunted him a bit, sure. What are you afraid of? I spread my arms. Little old me? The game tracks your decisions on how Maya approaches problems. They will accumulate and gradually reveal what kind of a person she is, deep in her heart. The story changes to reflect Maya's personality. Well, he brushed his forehead with the back of his hand. I did ask. I started with the old people here. I told them that my friend from the States was looking for her roots and wanted to know about the place her family came from. You know the drill. At first people were very, receptive. I waited for the other shoe to drop. And then I mentioned your name. He shook his head. Go on. Bartek, no dramatic pauses, please, I urged him. The tension is killing me. One of the old men here told me to go to hell. The other spat on the ground and his wife crossed herself. For a moment he looked younger and smaller. And then my own grandmother told me to stop asking. Oh, that was... For a moment he looked younger and smaller. I was not Bartek saying that. She said something else as well. What? I asked. She told me to pray for you. Suddenly the sweet golden afternoon wasn't so sweet and golden anymore. Who was I? I looked at Bartek and I saw that the stories he'd heard had clearly strained something between us. He was afraid of me. Who was I? We walked in silence, but my mind was in overdrive. People didn't want to talk, and that could only mean one thing. I was on the right track. My pulse quickened and I tensed up like a hound that smelled blood. I was on the right track. Every time you learn or do something significant that brings you closer to your goal, you regain willpower. I was ready to see some sights. Time to see the sights, I nodded at Bartek. Show me everything this place has to offer. We walked through the village, bathed in the sharp rays of the summer sun. It was a lazy afternoon, disturbed only by the occasional car passing through, by the occasional passing car throwing up clouds of dust that hung in the air long after the vehicle was gone. Anya was walking close to Bartek, asking him about every little detail in the village. People were relaxing or working in their yards. Dogs were barking, and every cat we passed froze to look at us. People seemed quite friendly, though. Some of them smiled at us as we passed by, and every once in a while we stopped for some small talk with people who knew Bartek. The cats behaved strangely. What's with the cats? I asked as we passed a tabby who stopped in the middle of the sidewalk to meow at us. I don't know. I don't know. They're cats. Maybe they want to make up for the village's manners. Bartek shrugged. You know, some people are wary of newcomers. Why? I asked candidly. It's complicated. Bartek scratched his neck, embarrassed by the topic. There's a small conflict around the forest, and it's attracting some weird people. Activists report as bored rich kids, he said, as though his dad didn't own multiple businesses. People like that, and they're getting on the locals' nerves. Fair enough. I nodded. It didn't explain the cats, though. Well, you're not one of those crazies, and you're like almost local, he smiled. So, what would you like to see in the village of your ancestors? He spread his arms as if to show me all of the splendor the village had to offer. What do you suggest? Cats were watching my every move as we walked along the empty streets. Village center, abandoned railway, or the old cemetery. Let's go to the village center for a start. This is such a nice village, explained Anya as we walked along the quiet street. Nothing moved. The heat was stifling. I enjoyed the walk. I like how peaceful it is, I admitted. I can finally slow down and just unwind. Let's get something to drink, I proposed. I'm parched. The local store was a large mini-mart with all kinds of goods, from beer and vegetables to notebooks and pens. There was a bench near the entrance, and on it were a few local drunks. They looked colourful, so I waved at them as we passed. One of them wolf whistled and Bartek winced. They were an easy target for a joke or two. Who are you? I laughed at them. The local bums of the year? You must be so proud. Hey, shut it! One of them shouted back. Have some respect! Oh, I'm so sorry, I said with feigned sympathy. Did you manage to lose that competition as well? After a moment of tense silence, they burst into laughter. We spent some time inside browsing the Latvian, Lithuanian and Belarusian goods. Why was there almost nothing Polish here? And who in their right mind drinks coriander soda? I was putting the soda back on the shelf when we heard a commotion coming from outside. Loud voices. Some slurs, some curses, and a clear, mockingly polite, I'm so sorry, darlings, I don't understand. Do you like my skirt? Oh, fuck. Bartek murmured under his breath. Go on. I looked outside. There was someone standing next to the drunkard's bench. They were definitely not local. The person was old. Not helpless granny old, but old, with deep wrinkles and a narrow mouth. They had the unisex grace of a tired heroin-preserved rockman. The shoulder-length, disheveled hair completed the look. They definitely do look out of place, and I still don't quite know whether they're male or female. Looks male to me. They looked like someone had teleported them there from a different planet. They had a clean shave and eyes highlighted with eyeliner. Their nails were painted in bright blue. They wore heavy army boots, an outrageously red skirt, a tank top and lots of leather jewelry. On their back there were pins, lots of pins, all kinds of LGBTQA+ flags, anarchist and pacifist symbols, and I think some German band stripes. No, Mum would have told me to stay out of it. Don't get involved, my mother always told me. You keep getting into trouble. You don't want to get into trouble abroad where there's no one to help you. But that was the problem, wasn't it? I always managed to get involved. I couldn't just let it go, even now. Oh, god damn it. Maya, please. I smiled and, ignoring the man, approached the foreigner. Hi, I'm Maya. I just got here, I said. They looked at me with a serene smile. Nice to meet you, Maya, they said with an unmistakable German accent. I'm Kim. I can't do a German. I don't know how a German accent... Okay. I pointed at the drunks. Are they bothering you? I asked, trying to make my voice as polite as Kim's. It wasn't that hard. My heart was beating fast, but I had it under control. Oh, the person shined a blissful mocking smile at the man. Not at all. Why would they be? Hey, someone said suddenly from behind our backs. Kim smiled and the man on the bench stiffened. I turned around. The woman approaching us had the longest, thickest braids I've ever seen, as thick as my arm. There was something faintly Asian about her facial features, and the men on the bench looked at her with deference. "You should stop drinking that moonshine. It makes you pick fights you can't win," she said. She looked ferocious. And the drunks started explaining themselves. But look at this, Alzunia," said one of them, gesturing towards us. "For the last fucking time, the name's Lisa." She pronounced it Lisa. Okay, how else would you pronounce that? "And this is my friend. You're to leave them alone, got it?" Her Polish sounded weird, more melodic or maybe mellower even when she cursed. The drunkards mumbled and went back to drinking. "Thanks, Lisa," Kim said in English. "You shouldn't have." "Oh, but I wanted to." Asked who she was. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm Lisa. I live here." She looked me up and down. "And who would you be?" "This is Maya," smiled Kim. "She's also not from here." "Oh, are you here to protest the logging?" She raised her eyebrows. "Or just a tourist?" Why were they logging in a national park? "Wait, isn't this place like a national park?" I asked. "Why are they logging here?" "You'd think they'd leave the oldest forest on the continent, the beating heart of it alone, wouldn't you?" She looked at me with a grim expression. "There's illegal logging here," Anya chipped in. "Wood is money, and there's plenty of wood in this forest." Suddenly a feeling rushed over me. It was cold. Suddenly I felt cold despite the hot, sticky summer air, as though there were a wind from the forest that blew only for me, inside me, chilling my bones and blood. There was something sad and helpless about it, even though it felt all-powerful. A word appeared in my mind, a strange one that was neither Polish nor English. Harano. Lisa looked me in the eyes and spat on the ground. "I'd eat those greedy bastards alive." I noticed Kim watching me. I felt like I was being watched, and when I looked up I saw Kim observing me with a curious expression. They knew what had happened to me. I realized they knew I'd just felt a strange connection to the forest. "Tell me," I asked. "I know you have strange dreams," they whispered. "I suspect the forest is reaching out to you." They leaned closer to me. "It runs in your blood." The words were like a punch to the gut. "Trust me, I know." Who was I? "Who am I?" I asked quietly. "You can see the invisible," they said, looking me in the eyes. "You'll find the way." Suddenly I felt confident. I felt a sudden surge of confidence. I wasn't making that up. There was something strange in my family history, and there were people who knew what was going on. Before I could ask more, Anya and Bartek approached, and Kim shook their head, silencing me. "Meet us tomorrow at the logging site." They blew me a kiss, put their arm around Lisa, and walked away. We decided to leave as well.